the manual mode. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the all-new Dodge Challenger Hellcat. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the large trailer Dodge Ram here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Hellcat. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Ryan. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a supercharged 6.2-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 13 around town and then 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 717 horsepower and then 650 pound-feet of torque. Before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Starting with the hood here, you guys can see we have the cool dual snorkel design, which is just so aggressive. And then coming down below, you guys can see there with the daytime running lights wrapped around the headlights, and I'll give you guys a closer look in just a moment. But notice everything's all blacked out on this one. It has the midnight package, including that little Hellcat emblem, and then yes, it does have little protectors on the front. So you guys can see the Hellcat logo there on the light. The camera's not going to focus very well. And then we got another Hellcat logo on the grille. And yeah, this is going to go down as being one of the most beautiful muscle cars of all time. Coming on the side here, our tire wheel setup is 275/40/20 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see here with the wheel design, 5-spoke design, massive brake rotors, and then you've got the red caliper, which, I don't know, it just kind of adds to the flair. And then taking a look at the side profile here, you guys can see that Hellcat logo right there. You've got the fuel door that's blacked out. And again, with those wheels and those brake calipers, it just pops. Now this is what I'm going to call the walk-around key for the Hellcat. So this is the black key. This gives you like 500 horsepower. The red key gives you over 700, like we discussed earlier. But anyways, you can still remote start the car with this. You can open up the trunk. You got your door lock and unlock, all that kind of stuff. Or actually, this is the wife key. This is the wife key, and the red key is the key that you get. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. Now opening up the trunk, this ultimately is still a Challenger, so you have a ton of storage space here in the rear. And then when you're all done, just plop it back down. We've got these cool LED lights here in the back, and then you guys can see the spoiler, how it kind of like wraps over. Got the blacked out Dodge logo, and then notice the parking sensors there at the bottom, and then look at the exhaust tip covers, how those are also darkened. That's neat. Yeah, putting this all together, this car definitely has a really cool, distinctive, sporty design. Now, as you guys can see, you've got these cloth seats in this particular Hellcat. Cool design there in the center. Now, for the back seats, you can fit adults back there. It's kind of cramped with the legroom, but I mean, the headroom's decent, and you can't really say the same about like a Camaro or a Mustang. Now, taking a look at the door panel, we actually have cloth trim here at the top. Then you guys can see here with the padding and the stitching, we got our window controls, automatic, which is nice. You got a little door handle, and there's a quick look at the mirror. And then here are the front seats. Notice SRT Hellcat logo there, and then you guys can see with the design in the center, and then I think that's pretty cool right there. Power adjustment on the side, but then also it's partially manually adjustable. 2-pedal layout, because again, automatic life. And then we've got our light control right there, and then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. Now here's our Hellcat steering wheel. I love the trim there at the top, and then you guys can see perforated on the side with the leather so you can get slightly better grip. Paddle shifters for that 8-speed automatic. Got some controls for center stack, cruise control, radio controls in the back, and then your voice command and phone controls, and then turn signal, windshield wiper stock. So here's our center gauge cluster. You guys can see red and aggressive, and yes, the speedo goes up to 200 miles an hour. And then you can scroll through this to see different bits of vehicle information. The big thing is the performance info. That's what's always fun with the Hellcats. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and resolution's pretty solid. Now here is the infotainment system. Response time's pretty good. Notice we got heated seats, heated steering wheel, dual zone climate. But the fun thing is when we press the SRT button, we got all the performance stuff that pops up, including the race options. Notice we got launch control, line lock, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. There are a bunch of different drive modes, and this is cool because it'll actually show you like what's happening depending on what key you have. Now, something to mention, if you put the red key in, it always overrides this one, but with the red key, you can switch between the two different power outputs. But something else I do want to mention is this is the key to use during winter time. It's just trust me. And then you guys can see you've got analog controls here for like the radio, your SRT button, you got your launch control, you can use that at like 500 miles, and then your dual zone climate controls. Shifter here for that 8-speed automatic transmission. We got some cup holders behind that, and then you can see the center console area, so illuminated, USBs, all that. Look at the stitching that goes across, that's nice. Pretty normal glove box here. It's actually pretty big though. And then you're not gonna be able to see much up top, but we do have a sunroof that apparently squeaks when I open it. Let's see if it does that again. Okay, that was just a fluke. Control for the sunroof right there. So here's our window sticker. You guys can see the base MSRP right there, $66,000. And then most everything's actually standard equipment. There are some options on this particular one. Total MSRP there is $79,405. 5-year, 6,000 mile powertrain warranty, 3-year, 36,000 mile on the basic. Let's see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. Oh, setting off in the Hellcat, and we are of course in the sport mode, because you know we're gonna have a little bit of fun, even though it's apparently 48 degrees outside. That window sticker is like the biggest blind spot ever. But yeah, I mean, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Hellcat powertrain. I had a Ram TRX for about 2 years. I just recently sold it for a GT500. And so I will talk to you guys about my thoughts on the Hellcat as someone who now owns a GT500. And I guess I'll explain why I purchased a GT500 over a Hellcat a little bit at the end of this video. But first off, even in the sport mode, the ride quality with this is actually really good. That's one of the things I do like about the Challenger is it's good with the suspension. It's definitely a nice, like, comfortable cruiser. And something else to mention is, you know, this isn't the most fuel efficient vehicle, but this gets better fuel economy than my GT500. That's something that I've always thought was interesting, is this has such a big, crazy engine, but, you know, it's like one of the most fuel efficient muscle cars out there, which I don't know if people really care about that, but, you know, it's a thing. Steering's actually really good. Now, you do feel the weight with this car. And one thing that I'm noticing that's a big difference between this and like the GT500 and the Camaro ZL1, this doesn't feel as like hunkered down and planted as those two. Those two feel more like sports cars. This feels more like a true muscle car, which again, some of you might like that. Some of you might not exactly like that. But we're gonna just get on it partially here. What is this person doing? Yeah, just, you know, just pull out in front of, I'm leaving that there. It's because they're driving a Hyundai. Anyways, you can see just partial throttle like sounds really good with the supercharger whine, and it gets up and it moves. Now we're gonna pop into the manual setting here. We're in the manual mode. So I can only go partial throttle because if I do more than like 25% right now, like I'm gonna end up in that medium or there. The Hellcat always struggles for traction, but I mean, listen to how good that sounds. I mean, it's just beautiful. And that's one of the things that I think that a lot of people are gonna miss with EVs and just with the other cars that we're going towards, is you aren't gonna get a sound like that. Supercharged V8, you just can't replicate it. And even that new Daytona concept the Dodge released, it sounds okay, but it ain't no Hellcat, that's for sure. So summing things up, I love the look of the Hellcat. I love how it drives. It's super comfortable. The main reason why I personally didn't purchase a Hellcat is because although I love the driving dynamics of this car, I like the sporty feeling of the GT500 a little bit more, like how it feels more like a sports car. But again, I think that might not be attractive to some people because that means that you give up ride quality and comfort. Like, this is a car that you take, sorry, I gotta do a weird view, that you take on a road trip. The GT500, I don't think so. I don't know if I'd take that on a road trip. And then the other reason, frankly, if I'm being honest, is going to be, you know, values in the short term. Now, in the long term, I think this might end up being a more desirable car because, like, I think 50 years from now, people are going to probably want the look of this more than the Mustang. Don't get me wrong, the Mustang looks great, but this looks like what a muscle car should look like. And so I think if someone's going to want to get something, sorry, I just hit the GoPro. I think if someone's going to want to get something like this in 50 years, they're going to want to get like something that looks like a muscle car and sounds like a muscle car and feels like a muscle car. So long-term values, I think with these will be really good, but in the short term, the GT500 is way more rare, and well, I have a car buying problem where I like to buy and sell cars all the time, so it makes more sense for me over the short term. But such a cool car. I'm gonna miss it. I'm sad that Dodge is getting rid of it. I wish that they instead, like, you know, this is gonna be like very controversial, but Maybe not. I wish they, instead of getting rid of all of their V8s, Dodge like threw some sort of like really economical powertrain into like the base Challenger for the rental car Challengers, right? Because we all know that these end up being like the base Challengers end up being rental cars. And then did that to improve their base fuel economy rating, but then still sold V8 Hellcats. Like, I think that's what they should have done, because they like just decrease Hellcat production, still produce them, and then just like, I don't know, give us a 4-banger Challenger. Again, I know, sacrilege, but like, if that's what they have to do to keep the Hellcat, that's what they have to do. That'll sum things up with our video on this Hellcat. A huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Dodge Ram here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Hellcat. Check out the info in the description down below. I'll see ya.